granted to himself and his wife. They advised to the Economic and Organized Crime Office that he be rearrested. But let me try and walk you through the story as has been narrated to us by the Attorney General, Professor Dominic Ayene, with respect to Kwabena Adu, who is the immediate past boss of the Signals Bureau. Now, he mentions that amongst many other things, that for starters, this is not an investigation which is directly under the Operation Recover All Loot and the work which was done by Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa and the committee which was subsequently handed over to him. But with respect to the fact of the case, as at February 25 of this year, Mr. Adu left the country to the UK and he subsequently moved to Dubai in an attempt to, as part of his journey, return to the country. But there was an interesting mix with respect to how his return was captured. Now, according to the Attorney General and the facts he's been providing us, while in Dubai, Mr. Adu purchased tickets with Emirates Airlines to return to the country. Now, when the due date was nearing, which was in April, and that's the indication we get that his initial flight details to Ghana based on the Emirates airline was to return to the country in April. But interestingly, that flight was cancelled on the 20th of March. Now, upon the cancellation of that flight details, Iyoko was quick to pick out details of two possible flights which were returning to Ghana from the UAE, that's a British Airways flight, and then a KLM flight. And per the indication or the understanding they had, there was a suspicion that he could have been on either of such flights. Now, upon an investigation into the manifest on the plane, there was a name which appeared similar to Mr. Adu name, or just slight differentials with respect to some of the initials which were captured in the name. And that is what served as a basis upon which he was put on a list and he was picked up when he was arrested. Now, with respect to details of really the crime upon which investigations are currently happening with respect to him, here's what the Attorney General has been telling us, that as head of the Signals Bureau, where there's the expectation that they were supposed to provide or purchase some cybersecurity solutions for the company, herein named BNC, Mr. Adu and his wife incorporated a completely new company with the same name, BNC, with accounts with a different bank. Now, when approval was subsequently given for this purchase of cybersecurity solutions, which estimated to cost some $7 million US, funds were transferred from the accounts, the national account of the Signals Bureau. Just to make it pretty simple, funds were transferred from the public account of the Signals Bureau to this private account owned by Mr. Adu and his wife, out of which of the total amount which was subsequently transferred, only a little over $1 million was actually paid to the company expected to provide these cybersecurity solutions to the National Signals Bureau. Subsequently, the rest of the funds have been used by Mr. Adu. That's according to the Attorney General, and it is upon this which investigations are currently ongoing. With respect to oral and as well work being done there, he provided updates with respect to the Sky Trains and then the NSA ghost names as well. Says that with respect to the NSA ghost names, 8 persons have been interrogated and they are beginning to cooperate in providing details, where amongst many other things, some monies were paid to a member of parliament to kill a story or to kill the story with respect to the revelations in the NSA ghost names. With respect to the Sky Trains as well, they say they have enough to be able to proceed. The former chief executive, they understand, has left the country and is currently in Senegal, where there are no extradition treaties between us and Senegal, hence upon which he can be brought back into the country. And so essentially, latest with respect to briefings as provided by the Attorney General, Professor Dominic Ayeni, there will be a lot more for you and for us to be able to chew on subsequently, where a lot of questions as well have been asked. But from us here are the Information Service Department auditorium, where the Attorney General just addressed us, brief details with respect to work done by Yoko on the National Signals Bureau, and as well a latest update from Oral. Kwabena Adu, back to the studio.
Eric Kwabena Adu there from the ISD, where the Attorney General has been addressing the press regarding some investigations in the country. I'll just fill in some of the blanks that Kwabena may have left out. He also talks about, the AG also talked about how the suspect, Kwabena Adu, has 2 service passports, one to expire in 2033, the other in 2039. He also has a regular passport, one foreign passport, because he bought citizenship. At this time, the AG has not disclosed which citizenship or which country that citizenship comes from. And he also goes on to talk about the transfer of monies between the National BNC and the BNC, which the suspect and his wife had incorporated. Some 49 million cedis had gone through from the national account to his private accounts for the purchase of cyber defense software. Now, the AG explains that instead of the money going directly to the Israeli company ISC, the 49 million cedis went to Adu-Boahen's BNC. Subsequently, 9 million cedis of that went to the ISC. The rest of the money, which came to about $7 million plus, about 40 million cedis at then exchange rate, were distributed to many companies, company accounts connected to Kwabena Adu, and that's coming from the Attorney General. Much of the money, he says, after tracking, they noticed that they went into the purchase of landed properties. Many of these properties here in Accra, about at least 4 of them at Mayfair Estate here in Accra, 2 properties in London. The AG mentions that they are tracking those properties as well and hope to get their hands on those properties as well. And then he goes to give timelines as to how those monies were transferred from the Adu-Boahen connected accounts to purchase the landed properties. But let's get quick conversations on the back of these developments we're hearing from the Attorney General. Really revealing news conference there. Jonathan Asante-Otre, PhD, is an analyst who's joining us via Zoom. Doc, good afternoon to you. I'll quickly move on to what we've heard so far from the Attorney General. Let's start off from where I left off. The revelations from their investigation of they investigating Kwabena Adu, who headed the National Signals Bureau. What do you make of what you've heard so far?
Let me say good afternoon to your viewers. Revealing. It's quite revealing. I think that as a country, we'll have to work a little harder when it comes to white-collar crimes. They are so sophisticated that you will need someone who is quite attentive, who is quite investigative, who has an eye for little details, who is ready and willing to dot the I's and cross the T's, because you could see that this is someone who is highly sophisticated and a very intelligent person at that. So it will have to take someone who is more intelligent than him to be able to uncover all this. I think that the Attorney General is quite meticulous. He appears so, and so in as much as people have been calling on the current government with respect to accountability day in, day out, you just cannot hastily go to court and make a mess of yourself. Because if you listen to him carefully, he makes us understand that to go to court, to go and prosecute, you must demonstrate the willingness, you must have the fortitude, you must have the evidence to be able to get, success. It doesn't have to be that kind of political witch hunting. where, in time past, we saw something of that sort. And so I think that we have in the person of Dr. Ayine and that of Dr. Sremsa, meticulous attorney generals, substantive and deputy. And so I think that it's still early days yet. It appears to us that this is going to be a series, and most likely in the not too distant future, we are going to see some more, especially when they are done. And so he talks about plea bargaining and other things. If people are wise enough and they want to take that particular route, I think that in itself will bring the state that kind of money that we all need. I've said, and that's why, yeah.
Indeed, Doc. I'll hold you on a little bit and then move on to the telephone lines where we are joined by legal practitioner Martin Pebu. I appreciate you talking to us, lawyer, but you've heard from the Attorney General. I want to pick your initial thoughts on what you've heard so far.
Yeah, so it's good. It's heartwarming to hear that at least this Kwabena Adu matter, there is, good evidence that is making the case look like an open and shut case. When we say open and shut in law, those are the easier cases, open and shut, right? So it's heartwarming to hear. We had heard some of this information informally, but now it's good that formally the Attorney General has said so. The money, about 39 million to him, right? That's a lot of money that can build schools, a lot of money that can provide more health care, people on dialysis, kidney patients, etc. So that is good. The only other side, and that's the kernel of the matter for me at this time in our governance, is the search of Governor Addison's home. The search on Governor Addison's home. So I hear he says what Afenyo Martin said is untrue. That's the issue of the 10,000 Ghana, etc. But coincidentally, you can check. About 10 minutes before I heard the Attorney General, I'd heard on another platform where lawyer Ahmed Shaibu, the Wager MP, went on to say that the National Security Coordinator, this is what Ahmed Shaibu said, the National Security Coordinator had to call Governor Addison to apologize for what went on. So now who is saying the truth? I don't think it's good for our governance.
So we've got to get to the bottom of that.
Yes, we need to. Because Ahmed Shaibu was on air saying that because the search didn't go well, the National Security Coordinator had to call Governor Addison. Please, let's get to the bottom of this. If somebody's made a mistake or whatever it is, I think the person should just apologize. We are ready to accept it, then we'll move on. But
very well. So, lawyer, here's what I want us to do. We'll come back to this issue, but first we'll listen to the Wager MP when he made those comments. Right now, I want us to focus on the investigations as has been revealed by the Attorney General into the NSB boss and Kwabena Adu, so to speak. Listen, when you hear some of the things that the AG has said, it raises questions about why no alarm was raised at any point in those bank transactions. From the legal point of view, how do you process that?
Well, it's not surprising at all. So this is what we've always meant when we say politicians are crooks. Politicians are crooks. Politicians are crooks. They will cover themselves. So once the previous government was in power, they weren't going to do anything to reveal the bad deeds, the corruption and the financial loss that was going on. No, they weren't going to do it because they know that if they revealed, the people of Ghana would punish them. But somehow we could also tell, we knew that these things were going on. Do you remember on TV3 for the past 2 weeks, I've been sharing another contract that Leader Power was involved in, the filtration contract. She signed the contract and paid over 30 million euros without going through the Attorney General. The Attorney General didn't see the contract. The Attorney General didn't review it. Yet when the trouble came, when the company couldn't fulfill, and then they had to report to the Attorney General, the Attorney General looked at it and said there should be a refund of the money. That was in March 2024. About how many? 9 months to an election. Yes, the Attorney General himself didn't do anything. So that is another example that when they see bad things, they will cover up. They won't let us see. That is it when we say politicians are crooks. Until they left office, did you see Godfrey Dami coming out to say that, hey, Sisli Adapa is involved in another bad contract, or Sisli Adapa has caused us financial loss? Did you hear Attorney General? No. We had to start them before we could see this contract document. So I'm not surprised that the NSS one, those things were not reviewed. I'm not surprised at all. This is not the first time.
I see. Well, again, from what the AG has narrated to us, he is tracking the accounts owned by the belonging to the suspect and his wife and the companies they are connected to. But at the same time, he holds off. He falls short of saying that he will freeze these accounts. Is it legally wise at this point for the AG not to seek immediately freeze orders on these accounts?
Oh, definitely, I'm thinking he will do so, but he will not say so publicly.
Well, what he said is that he's warned the banks and the employees connected to the suspect from moving assets. But, he hasn't really said immediately that he will go after freeze orders.
Oh, but from what Dr. Ayini is saying, and don't forget, Dr. Ayini is an astute politician and a professor of law at that. I'll be surprised that he doesn't, because if he doesn't and the money goes out of the account, he knows Ghanaians will not forgive him. So for me, I would want to hold my horses on it, and perhaps we'll send him messages that this is what the public is saying. Because don't forget, I'm the same person. When Mamiti Dankwa sat down and OSP returned the money to Adapa, when this Tiwa at Yoko Boss should have been collecting it, and yet she didn't do. You see how we are constantly talking about it and complaining, holding Tiwa accountable. So in the same way, Dr. Ayini knows that if he doesn't freeze the accounts now, Ghanaians for the next 10 years will talk about it. So I'll be very surprised that Dr. Ayini will not do that. No, I'll be extremely surprised.
Another thing he speaks about is the 260 million bill for the primary suspects, Kwabena Adu, his wife, and some other suspects he does not name, and he explains why he does not do that. But he also says that he is recommending to IOCO to rearrest Kwabena Adu because of the, because of some intelligence he has. I mean, again, I'm going to ask whether this is legally strategic at all.
Yes. So from what I've seen, that he's going to ask that they rearrest him, then presumably it means it's another transaction. Presumably it's another transaction, because if it's the old transaction, the pieces of those equipment, once they've kept him in custody for more than 48 hours, they have to grant him bail. So, and I know, he knows, and already you see how we are talking in the public. He knows that if it doesn't go by the law, the backlash will be there for years. So at this time, I just want to wait and see. If he says rearrest, usually they rearrest when there is something new, meaning that the crimes for which you were granted bail are done. They've gotten something new. He says, based on a briefing I got yesterday night, I've advised Yoko to grant him bail. That's for what they already investigated, and rearrest him. So presumably that is for something new. If it is not, if it comes out, as I said, we all know how the public will react. So let's just watch keenly.
I see. I mean, I was going to ask, would it not be better to file charges immediately with this depth of evidence that he shared with the public?
Yes, he's mentioned it. He says as soon as he files the charges. So that means that it's virtually done. He mentioned it. I heard that part where he says that when he files the charges, they can come and do plea bargaining, etc. Yes, he's mentioned it. So meaning that the charges are virtually done. Because, I mean, like I was saying again, it will be surprising that at this time that Dr. Ayini is speaking, they've not drafted. No. From the way he's speaking, meaning that they've drafted, yes.
Very well. Finally, on the Kwabena Adu issue, Dr. Ayini also talks about a plea bargain. That's what we'll name it at this point, because that's how I understand it. He says that as the investigation progresses, if the suspect is willing to return the money, then perhaps he would look at, giving him a reduced sentence as part of the trial process, or appealing to the court to give him a reduced sentence as part of the trial process. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's good. I'm not exactly sure, based on past experience, that we can conclude that they can finish the trial within 4 years. You can trust that just as a lot of the NDC appointees were able to drag their trials more than 4 years, certainly NPP also have lawyers who can also do the same. So for that part, I'm a bit cautious. Let me wait. Let me wait, because we've just experienced some of the cases that Dr. Ayine did, the nullus prosequi and the withdrawal. Some of them have been in court 6 years, etc. They couldn't finish. So this is a big matter. I want to be cautious as to when they can finish. But what I immediately want to also bring to the fore, which we should be pushing for, is the non-conviction based recovery of the assets. Non-conviction based. So the difference is that you see this one that Dr. Ayine mentioned, the Plea Bargaining Act. It requires that the person should plead guilty. And you see this one, for example, concerning Dubois, when he pleads guilty, and so far we are discussing in the context of stealing. You see, he went to London, etc. A lot of those visits, unless it's a dual citizen, etc., he cannot travel. When you're applying for a visa, you see there's that column. Are you a convicted felon? And stealing is a felony, second-degree felony. So what I'm saying is that once you have to convict the person before you collect his money, it makes the trials difficult. So we should amend the law so that for some of them, already there are some of the laws on the paper, but we don't appreciate it like that. So there should be clearer amendments. So that for some of the cases, we should just do the recovery, collect the money from the person, let him pay interest and then damage. And then you can leave the criminal side. Because if you want to convict everybody before you collect the money, you will not get. You see, just remember the cases that Dr. Ayine himself had to do the nullus prosequi. Just remember that the lawyers who succeeded in pulling the cases for long, NPP also have lawyers who can do the same kind of act.
I see, lawyer. I'm going to have you hold on at this point, and then bring in that soundbite from the minority presser earlier, where they raised concerns about the search of the homes of former appointees on the back of the recent search of Dr. Addison's, the former BOG governor's home. Let's take a listen, and then we'll continue the conversation with Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere.
Photographs circulating on social media clearly shows signs of destruction and ransacking. Hardly the marks of a lawful and respectful operation. If indeed a court-issued warrant truly existed, why was it not presented to Dr. Addison before or during the raid? Why was brute force used to overpower his private security? Why was the CCTV camera dismantled and taken away? Transparency is a hallmark that ensures lawful enforcement. The failure to follow basic procedure cast doubt on the legality and intent of the operation. No amount of legal contortion or public relations spin can undo the facts. Dr. Addison's home was raided under highly questionable circumstances. If the actions were truly lawful and above board, why did the National Security Coordinator find it necessary to call and apologize to Dr. Addison via the phone of Mr. Richard Jakpa? If there was no wrongdoing with the conduct of the security officers, what exactly was the apology for? And perhaps more importantly, if that apology was authorized, is Mr. Jakpa being entirely honest about what transpired? Attempts to sanitize this action by claiming he had access to legal counsel does not and would not address the fundamental question. Was the raid a necessary and lawful one? Or was it an abuse of power designed to intimidate and humiliate? The minority in Parliament firmly believes it was the latter.
Jerry Ahmed is the Honourable Member of Parliament for Wager and Second Deputy Minority Whip. Doc, I'm coming to you with this one. The AG has responded to some of these allegations that the minority has made. Should it put the matter to rest as to what truly or how, the former Bank of Ghana governor's home was searched?
The politics of it will always, rear its ugly head. I think that the former Bank of Ghana governor has a lot of questions to answer. Maybe the modus operandi, we may have questions about that. In actual fact, it will be very suicidal on the part of national security operatives to go to the extent of picking money, and the money that they say as accurate as 10,000. That for me doesn't sound like the person who put that information out there was quite introspective. I don't think he was. And then jewelries. You see, national security, for me, I know, and then the Attorney General said something to the effect that it is not allowed that they put their expenditure out there. I don't think that you are talking about people who will just know very well that where they are going, there will be CCTV, camera and all those things in there, and they'll go ahead to do something such as unthinkable, as the minority leader and others are alleging. The other side too is that when you have a government that when the operatives go and they make a mistake, probably the force that was used was quite, high. And you have the operatives, the senior colleagues of the government in terms of coordinator and other things, apologize. And that, for me, is a step in the right direction. That is good governance. If indeed he did so, that amounts to some kind of good governance.
But could that apology, as Lawyer Kwebu has questioned, could that apology be an admission of guilt that indeed a member of the team that searched the home picked the items that they are being accused of?
Yeah, it is exposed to different interpretation. And those who want to do the politics will take up that particular, because it is yet to be proven. And in actual fact, the word that we are using to describe this operation in itself is inaccurate. When you say raid, and I've listened to Colonel Festus on this particular on TV3 Saturday, it's different from a search. But the way we are using the word raid, that is quite impactful. And I don't think that is the appropriate word to use in the media. Maybe others have chosen to use that particular word as a way of gaining some kind of political favor or advantage. That being said, I'm of the view that people can interpret it from the other, but I'm of the view that to have a coordinator to call on the person because of what the person has been in the past, the role he's played in the economy, in the country, and so on and so forth, he feels so strongly that I will have to apologize, maybe for excesses. We cannot construe that to mean that they pick them and then they should return that money. If the apology is meant for the money and the jewelries, then Dr. Addison and the wife should receive that kind of money in the background or openly.
Very well.
That could be the only means by which you can interpret the apology to mean that they took it. Other than that, for me, it is a mark of good governance, and that if the system is high-handed and we're wrong, they apologize to the citizenry. That, for me, is better. But if they have made some certain mistakes, well, they can go ahead and correct those mistakes.
Doc, there's still so much to unpack. I hope that we can connect again here on TV3 in our later newscasts. In the meantime, thank you so much for talking to us. That'll be all from us. Earlier was Lawyer Martin Kwebu. Lawyer, I appreciate you talking to us as well. It's time for me to go. I'm Kemeni Amano. Do join us subsequently at 7 p.m. and at 10 p.m. for more on these revelations from the Attorney General's news conference. Next, though, is the afternoon show. Bye-bye.